What's up, peers, and welcome to Bitcoin to the Max here on the World Crypto Network. Today, we continue our discussion of the evolution of a money, and now through establishing scarcity and its digital collectible item or attribute, we now move to the aspect of Bitcoin that it is proving that the system is hard to change and thus reliable. It is reducing anxiety and perceived protocol risk. This is a really important point that Murat points out here. And I'd like to emphasize that this ability of Bitcoin to be hard to change, to be unchangeable, this might be one of Bitcoin's most important attributes. Why? Let's compare it to gold or silver. What defines gold? Well, it is the number of protons and neutrons in the atom, right? That's how a gold atom is defined. If it has any more or less, then it's not gold, period. And that definition and that social consensus around that definition has stayed the same forever, right? This is provable. This is reliable. Because we know that the gold atom yesterday and the gold atom today and the gold atom tomorrow all have the same base attributes and functions. And this reduces a lot of the anxiety of the future, because we know that at least these silver coins here will be there tomorrow as well. And that nobody can change what I've signed up for, so to say, by initially getting these silver coins. And how does this apply to Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin inherently is software code, right? It is running on Bitcoin full nodes, which enforce this software and enforce the rule set that is written on the software. So how can this software be changed? Well, you can change it easily at any time. As a matter of fact, it is open source. It is supposed to be copied and adapted and changed and malleable. And that's what is being made all the time. There are thousands of different changed versions of Bitcoin. But it's never Bitcoin. It's never the true original Bitcoin. Why? On January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto declared the consensus rules of Nakamoto consensus as activated with mining the Genesis block. And ever since then, for now over 500,000 blocks, every 10 minutes one on average, there have been no breaches in consensus. These same consensus rules pretty much they still align with the same consensus rules today. So if you would spin up version 0.1 of the Bitcoin core client, you could sync up the exact same blockchain or transactions in the mempool and eventually reach to the point of today. And you would be still in line with current implementations of version 0.17. So that is the inherent unchangeability of Bitcoin. The rule set was defined back in January 3rd, 2009, and it has not been changed yet. And this unchangeability, this removes the uncertainty of a change in the code base and therefore Bitcoin tomorrow. There are different changes that can be made though to Bitcoin, and there are some changes like a hard fork, which basically they break the consensus rules. They do something which was previously not allowed under the base consensus rules. And then it's just a new system. It's no longer the old system that everyone has agreed voluntarily upon to use, because now someone else comes and says, no, we changed the rules. But it's never the original. And there are other changes to the code base that are soft forks that require that you activate and restrict yourself, you limit yourself voluntarily via an opt-in mechanism. So you do not take away any rights and you do not grant yourself additional rights, but you opt in to change voluntarily a code change that only affects you. So for example, the long-awaited segregated witness update to Bitcoin brought a really important improvement to the network with several fixes to both malleability and also a decrease in the transaction size and effectively an increase in block size. This was a pretty much universal agreement that this is a really useful addition to Bitcoin, and therefore it was possible to implement it as a soft fork while still retaining the unchangeability of Bitcoin. because fundamentally the same rules apply. Now, for just a subset of people, there is a new set that does not violate the existing consensus rules. And only those that agree to this new subset of non-breaking consensus changes, they have to use it. So it is opt-in, thus voluntary. And this unchangeability of the main Schelling point of Bitcoin, this is the beautiful aspect of a sound money that usually we could only have with physical silver and gold, but now we seem to have it with Nakamoto consensus. A set of rules that hasn't been changed yet, and that most likely is not going to change, at least if we can judge from the last 10 years of experience. So this is quite a novel thing, and we've never seen such an unchangeable form of social consensus. And this is what makes Bitcoin such a anxiety-reducing money. Other than government fiat money, Bitcoin is not volatile. It is not changing. It is ever unchanging. And that is a beautiful thing for a money to be. Thank you, Piers, for joining me today here on the World Crypto Network for the show Bitcoin to the Max. This show is brought to you by you, my peers, of the World Crypto Network, because you are the patrons on patreon.com/WCN or the supporters on calico.io who reach out and throw us a couple of their Satoshis so that we can reduce our anxiety of not having any. So thank you very much, my friends, and see you all on the next show. Bye-bye.